Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Jenny Reads Maybe. I'm Jenny, and apparently I did read in May because I'm hitting y'all with a May wrap up right now. So I'm just gonna get right into it. I read a good chunk of books. I want to say 13 books in May, which is really surprising because I slumped really hard in the kind of middle of the month because of finals and graduation and just stress and busyness. But I did read a lot in a variety, in my opinion, of cool reads. So my first read of the month was on my Kindle, and it was Watch Over Me by Nina LaCour. And so I gave it 5 stars. Basically, all my thoughts were just that the imagery was really beautiful. I think I related a lot to kind of the loneliness that the character was facing at the time. But yeah, I just loved the imagery, and like, in fact, I literally wrote this down, that my only complaint for the book was that I wish there was more of it, because I feel like it ended rather abruptly, even though the ending was really like what made sense for the book. I just wish I had like 100 more pages to really experience the characters after that. And so my next read of May was Teen Titans Raven, a graphic novel. And I've been trying to get into more graphic novels because I feel like I don't read a lot of them, but they're really awesome. And just a really great way of getting through a story quickly. And I just loved this one, especially. Raven is a super cool character, and the art style was really awesome. I did give this 4 stars, but I don't really know how to rate graphic novels since I'm getting into them. And yeah, the art style, as I said, was great, and the plot was really cool. And I wrote it down that Raven is a top tier character. And I'm just super excited to continue reading alongside the Teen Titans books. I did already read Beast Boy, but that was the month before this because I didn't know what order they were in. But I definitely recommend picking this up if you're looking to get into graphic novels. And then my third read of the month was one of my most anticipated releases of the year. And that is Counting Down With You. This is my baby, the love of my life. Tashi hurt me with this, but in like all the best ways. And basically this book follows Karina and Ace. And Karina, it's her story, but also the story of just like fake dating and books and just like friendship. And I definitely recommend this. I gave it 5 stars. Obviously, it is a new comfort read for me. I did read this in one sitting. I bought it, and then that day I came home, read the whole thing, could not put it down. And I will say, when you read this, listen to Tashi's playlist that she made, that Ace made Karina, because that changed the game. It changed the game because those songs were amazing. And yes, I definitely recommend this. If you haven't read it, you should try it. It's really cute and lighthearted, but also like deep. So 5 out of 5 stars for me. Loved it. And then my next read of the month was another on my Kindle, and that was Confess by Colleen Hoover. I ended up giving that 3 stars. Basically, I don't even remember anything or the characters' names. I just remember like things about them, and just a lot of tropes that I wasn't really a great like fan of, and just could not get behind it. There were things that the male protagonist said and male love interest said that I just wasn't into or vibing with. And yeah, but I can say that part of this has been my own experience within my own family, and just like the tropes and those things didn't really hit for me. You can still definitely pick it up. I picked it up from my library on Kindle because the show the book has been made into like a little series, and I was going to watch the series, but now I still haven't. And yeah, essentially read it if you want to. And then my 5th book of the month was actually a poetry collection. It was What Kind of Woman by Kate Bear. And I really ended up enjoying this. I didn't know that I was going in, because it really reads like a lot of poetry about a woman who is married and has kids, and just like that kind of experience. But I loved the writing and the style, and just like, I love poetry, and so I feel like a lot of these things like that were said in this were something that it would help others to read and understand. And the cover was really pretty. I loved the flowers. Picked this up at Target, said, I'm reading, I need to read. But yeah, definitely would recommend, if you're kind of in the poetry mood, a quick read. I think it was only like 90 pages, if that. But put me in the headspace to write poetry again, and that was super exciting. So I recommend it. My next book was another Kindle book. I read The Roommate Risk by Talia Hibbert, which was originally Wanna Bet. And I read this while listening to the audiobook. 5 stars. Y'all, I've spent the month since I finished this thinking about the characters. I can recount little specific details about them. 5-star read, obviously, and it follows Jazz, who through events in her life ends up having to become roommates for a little while with her like best friend from university, and things kind of go from there. And I definitely recommend it. The steam was good, the characters amazing, the story amazing. It was my first Talia Hibbert, and I'm super excited to continue reading their works, just because I loved it, and everything about it means everything to me, and I will literally reread this every day. But yes, and then my next book of the month was From Blood and Ash. Now, this took me 2 weeks to read. I did slump pretty much through this because I was in finals, and I just didn't have the wherewithal to like jump into this most of the month. Every time I did end up jumping into it, I did love what I was reading, or at least really like it. I think because it's so popular on YouTube and just kind of everywhere, that I could guess a lot of the major like plot points and things. But if you don't know, this book, From Blood and Ash, follows Poppy, who is a maiden and cannot experience touch or anything like normal, and is basically the chosen one for her like kingdom and all of this. And she has to get a guard, and things transpire. Would I recommend it? Probably, if you're really in the mood for some more adult, high fantasy-esque stuff, keeping in mind that this is very info dumpy. It is basically 600 pages of information. But yeah, it was really good. I ended up giving it a 4-star, and I'm looking forward to eventually picking up the next book, A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. And yeah, so recommend it if you're into that. Girl, okay, my next read of the month. This one hurt me. This hurt me a lot. I have been wanting to read it, and finally I picked it up because I needed pain after graduating. And that was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Now, y'all, when I tell you this book hurt me. Like, all these blue tabs are sadness, and all of the orange are angry. And girl, this book was so good. I really loved it. I did give it 5 stars. And I just loved the writing. And I've come to realize that I love really lyrical writing for everything. And so 5 stars. This does follow Addie LaRue. And I really can't explain it without giving too much away. But This is one of those ones that's super hyped throughout the book community online, and I can see why. I loved it. I understand why some people don't, because it is really lyrical and the story is kind of interesting, but I would recommend it if you're into lyrical writing. And like, yes, therefore 5 out of 5 from me. I will be rereading this at some point, probably not this year because I want to experience the pain again, but I loved it. 5 stars, as I said. And then I did not read for a couple weeks, and then picked up 2 graphic novels again because I needed to experience joy. And so I bought these Heartstopper Volume 1 and 2. And let me tell y'all, I fell in love. I fell in love with these. I would like to thank Alice Oseman for these. And yes, I loved the style. The art style was beautiful. And the characters were beautiful, and just everything about Nick and Charlie means everything to me. And yeah, so if you didn't know, Nick and Charlie are our main characters, and it's the story of their friendship and maybe more. And yeah, I definitely recommend these. Again, if you're looking to get into graphic novels, I did give both of these 5 stars. Loved them. Will definitely be picking up Volume 3 and eventually ordering Volume 4 because it doesn't come out in America until like October or November, and I need it now, but I can't get it. And then I finished up the month with 3 books for buddy reads. The first one was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, and y'all, I did talk about this in a different vlog that'll be up, so I won't go too at length in this, but I really loved this. And coming off of Assassin's Blade, I didn't think I was going to love it, but I ended up giving this 4 stars after some thinking, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading the remainder of the series in the coming months. But if you did not know, this is about Selena Sardothian and her story in competing in a tournament of assassins, and it's really cool. I really liked it, and I would recommend it if you are in the mood for some good fantasy. My next read of the month, again, I talked about this in a vlog, so I won't go too long into it, but it was Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I did love this book with everything in me. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. Spensa means everything to me. I will die for her. And so a brief little summary. Spensa wants to be a fighter pilot in her planet, and it was very sci-fi, which I loved because I grew up on sci-fi. And I would recommend this to a lot of people, basically anyone. I've talked at length with this essentially in Mel's Discord, and just will talk about it forever. I will be picking up Starsight, the sequel to this, in the next month, in June. And then my final book, which I barely finished on the 31st, was Muse of Nightmares. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was a beautiful conclusion to the Strange the Dreamer duology. And yes, I definitely recommend it if you're into that. It follows Laszlo again. Laszlo Strange. I won't reveal too much because it is a second and I don't want to spoil it. Just know that I love this, and the writing, it was very lyrical and amazing, and I recommend reading this duology if you haven't. And those are a lot of reads for May. So comment down below what you read in May, a couple of the books you loved, and anything you would like to see from me in the future. I'm looking forward to reading more in June, though I am working. And yes, bye.